Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. My nickname is iFacePalm, and in this episode we're going to take a closer look at the premium Soviet Tier A IS-3A heavy tank, which features a very interesting and super unique gun loading mechanic, the reverse auto reloader gun. And during this tank review we will be of course looking into whether if it's worth picking up next time it arrives to the premium shop, how its tank statistics looks. I will of course compare its stats against a few other similar Tier 8 premium heavy tanks, which will be followed up with an extensive armor profile rundown with focus on its weak spots and strength. And afterwards I will take you guys alongside two very recent battles, which hopefully will give you guys a good idea of this Soviet heavy tank in action. And finally I will finish up with a quick sum up and my rating of this tank. Okay guys, let's get started. So what is the IS-3A all about, and how is it different from the standard IS-3? Because looking at these two tanks it can seriously be hard to spot any visual difference. And furthermore, how does the IS-3A compare against all the other Soviet heavy tanks, both in regards of the generic use of this tank in random battles, but also when taking a look at the more competitive selection, for example the Strongholds Tier 8 battle? Because in this game mode it is not that unlikely to nearly always encounter Soviet heavy tanks, like of course the Tech 3 IS-3 or the Premium Defender / Object 252, double-barreled Object 703, and of course the former clan reward tank, the IS-5, which is currently for sale in the bond store. Definitely no Soviet bias detected here. And honestly guys, I can just imagine the conversation the Wargaming staff must have had when they were designing the IS-3A, between the tank developer and the boss in charge. Got an idea, boss? How about we copy paste the IS-3 and make it premium? Nyet, comrade, we already copy pasted so many tanks. Maybe something new, something that will sell good. Okay boss, how about we copy paste it, but we give it better gun? Surely people will buy it. We could give it even 2 or even 3 shot autoloader and keep the damage. Nyet, comrade, Babushka will whine in forums about balance, and last time we copy pasted a tank we had to hire 2 comrades to delete the whining comments. Okay boss, I got it. We copy paste tank and give it 3 shot auto reloader gun, and to balance it we give it slower speed. Nyet, comrade, we do this and people will complain about DPM. You know comrade, DPM is needed to sell premium tanks. Okay boss, I got it. IS-3 copy pasted with 3 shot auto reloader gun, but we add a reverse auto reloading system, so no complaints. If people complain about this OP, then we tell them it's 10% slower boss. We can always fix terrain resistance numbers to make it faster. Good thinking comrade. You know, I have not just hired you for your good copy pasting skills. This idea is strong. Get started on it as soon as you finish copy pasting the other tanks. But remember comrade, stop copy pasting after you're done with these tanks. People will maybe start thinking we're just drinking vodka and copy pasting tanks all day long. But boss, that's what you told me to do since I started working here. And do you still think the tank design and balance team want to work for us after you told them dos vidania 8 years ago? Okay guys, so what is it? Is the IS-3A a copy paste, or is it a copy paste go wrong, and if so, for the better or the worse? Well, let's take a deeper look by doing a quick stats rundown with my current crew and tank setup. Okay guys, so for the crew, as you notice, we only have 3 crew members, which in comparison to the standard Tech 3 IS-3 is 1 less. And this is due to that the loader role is actually taken both by the commander and the gunner. So that is a bit tricky regarding of which skills exactly should you train. But besides that guys, it's nothing really out of the ordinary. Besides of course that the repair skills should definitely have been switched around with the camouflage skills, but that is of course due to this crew is a former medium tank crew, and with these current values I really didn't want to use 400 gold to retrain them. For the equipment, then do keep in mind guys that this IS-3A is currently outfitted for the competitive skirmish battles, and here I use the improved hardening for that extra 10% HP, a bounty rotation mechanism, and a bounty stabilizer. We will of course go into more details why I've selected the following equipment during the rundown. I've selected 19 APCR shells. Yes, this tank comes standard with APCR rounds that are capable of dealing the standard Soviet 390 alpha damage, together with a decent average penetration of 221. But check this guys, a shell velocity of 1400 meters per second. This is just nuts, and this comes as a standard guys, and the price here is not even extreme. And when we take a look at the premium shells, here I've selected 6 pieces of heat shells that each receives a beautiful buff in average penetration that now boasts a 270mm, but at the extreme cost of shell velocity of 820 meters per second. But do keep in mind guys that if you're fighting in very close quarters, that the shell velocity here is not really that big a thing. But personally, to be honest, I very rarely see any reasons to fire those heat shells, because those APCR rounds are simply stunning. And last of course, I have it fitted with 3 high explosive shells that each are capable of delivering an average damage of 530 with an average penetration value of 61. And for the consumables, small repair kit, small first aid kit, and a fire extinguisher. I could of course have fitted it with some extra combat rations, but to be honest, I don't really see that gigantic need for it, because the gun handling is going to be a big challenge no matter whether you use it or not. And as I personally do not mind to earn those extra credits, then I decided to go with the fire extinguisher instead. So we had an average damage of 390, average penetration of 221. And yes, the best part about this tank is of course its auto reloading system. It is capable of loading 3 shells in 43.1 seconds. The interclip reload speed of 3 seconds is quite a lot in general, but for this particular tank it doesn't do that much because you will gladly use those extra seconds to just aim slightly better. But the weird thing is not only that this is a heavy tank with an auto reloader system, but the crazy part is that the time for auto reloading one shell are switched around. And this means that, for example, the normal reloading system will punish you for firing all your shells, meaning that the last shell will take the longest time to reload. But for this one, it's the exact opposite. So when you have emptied your magazine, you are going to reload the first shell the fastest. And that just sounds so extremely overpowered. Because imagine, guys, when you get to the front of the battle, you are then capable of emptying your clip and then use it as a generic IS-3. You do not have to take the decision regarding should I fire all my shells to retain that damage per minute. And when taking a look at the gun traverse speed, 26.99, which is quite standard for this tank type, nothing really out of the ordinary, together with a quite average gun depression of -5 degrees. And when taking a look at the aiming time of 2.81 and a dispersion of 0.43, then these values definitely showcase that this is a heavy tank in its core. The average damage per minute is also around the middle, and with this current tank setup here, guys, we have 1710 HP. But of course, do keep in mind, guys, that we are receiving 160 HP from that improved hardening. And if I was primarily not using this tank for skirmish battles, then I would of course have switched the improved hardening and most likely replaced it with either improved ventilation, or alternatively either coated optics or binoculars. And you might be wondering, why would I ever put a binoculars on such a tank? But do keep in mind, guys, that for random games it actually isn't that bad idea, because that shell velocity of 1400 meters per second, that makes this tank extremely capable at firing at long ranges. Yes, the aiming is not that good, but keep in mind, guys, you will have 3 attempts. For the hull armor, 110, 90, 60, and the turret armor, 249, 172, and 100. So in general, yeah, it looks really like a nice copy-paste of the generic IS-3 in many ways. We will of course go into more details and compare the armor profile of the IS-3A against the IS-3 in a couple of minutes. And when taking a look at the mobility, then the IS-3A is capable of delivering a horsepower per ton value of 10.55, which definitely is not fast. Yes, I have initially been trying out turbocharger on this tank instead of the improved hardening for random games, but I really didn't feel I got that much advantage in comparison, because when taking a look at the top speed of 40 an hour, that looks really good, and taking a look at the reverse speed of 15 an hour, and adding that extra turbocharge would have given us that reverse speed of 17. But the thing is that what makes the IS-3A so much different is that gun loading mechanic. So usually I'm really not that supremely focused on that reverse speed in comparison to many other tanks, because it is all about timing that attack to be able to fire those 3 shots. So in my personal opinion, I believe strongly that the bounty rotation mechanism and the bounty stabilizer is a must in this tank. But for the third equipment slot, that's really up to the tank commander's preferred playstyle. And the reason for why these 2 equipments are so important, and why I can highly recommend if you have some bounty equipment lying around to add to this tank, it's of course the horrible gun handling. But of course, because I have this rotation mechanism, then we are able to achieve a decent traverse speed of 35 degrees. And last, standard camo values of 14 when stationary, and we finish up with a quite horrible view range of 369. Yes, this tank has only a base view range of 350, so that can definitely become a challenge if you are forced to use this tank from long range. This is also why I tend more to go for the binoculars rather than coated optics, because 10% increase is not really going to give you a strong boost and change much for your tank. Where if you fit it with binoculars, you could theoretically be able to take upon other roles when and if the matchmaker is against you. Okay guys, let's continue with the tank comparison. Okay guys, so here we have the tank comparison, where we're comparing the IS-3A against the Tech Tree IS-3, the former Clan Rewards tank, the IS-5, and the premium Object 252U/Defender, and last, the premium double-barreled Object 703. Right from the start, when we take a look at the PM, yes, it seems kind of too good to be true, because 1950, and yes, we know that this tank has a 3-shot auto-reloader system. Besides, of course, the 703, which has 2 double single-shot gun. And when taking a look at the penetration values, 221, you can definitely see here that these figures here, there's not really any figures here that stands out. And this we of course see also at the damage output, 390, which is super common for Soviet tanks, with the of course exception of the Object 252U, that is capable of delivering that extra 50 alpha damage. And when we take a look at the shell velocity, check this guys, 1400 meters per second. The only tank that has the exact same value is of course the former Clan Rewards tank, the IS-5. But what about if we change it to premium shells? Well, let's take a look. There we go. And here the penetration values are nearly the exact same. Besides of course the shell velocity, because for premium rounds, the IS-3A, the IS-5 and the 703 uses heat shells, where the IS-3 and the Object uses APCR. And this of course we can see here in the shell velocity. 820 is usually only good when you are up close and personal. And of course the last figure I have to mention is of course the potential clip damage of 1170 in just 6 seconds. That is completely nuts. Yes, the 703 is theoretically capable of firing both its barrels, but there is a very big difference between the first 4 heavy tanks on this list and the 703, because one of the biggest difference, besides of course the double barreled gun, is the armor profile that needs to be actively angled, but the other tanks are not that dependent. And let's continue by taking a look at the gun handling, and here the IS-3 boasts a surprising low aim time in comparison of 3 seconds. That is utterly horrible, and this is also why I fitted a bounty rotation mechanism and a bounty vertical stabilizer. And when looking at the hidden gun dispersion values when moving or traversing your tank or turret, then you will quickly see that the IS-3A definitely stands out with values of 0.26 and the turret traverse of 0.16, which are figures that are by far the worst in this comparison. And you might be thinking your defender's gun handling is bad. Yeah, it is bad, but nowhere near as bad as in the IS-3A. One thing of course to notice here is of course the Object 703, because where the initial gun dispersion is definitely not good, then the hidden gun handling values definitely are, because 0.12 and 0.06 is just completely nuts, where even some of the very best tanks in this field of any tank class are very rarely capable to have anything that is similar to these. And for the last very important figure in this category, we of course have the gun depression of 5 degrees. The Object 252U and the IS-5 are slightly better, but nothing really here stands out. And for the mobility, 40 an hour is again very standard for the Soviet tanks, alongside again a very standard reverse speed of 15 in reverse. The important part here is not the engine power, it's of course the power to weight ratio. And here 11.22 definitely puts us at the bottom of the list, where surprisingly the Object 252U seems to top it. Not that fast, because when taking a look at the terrain resistances, you might get the sense of that the IS-3A is very much slower than for example the IS-3. But the thing is that I've been recently using a lot the IS-3A in skirmish, where I'm driving alongside other IS-3 and Object 252U. And I honestly do not notice a speed difference when we are driving the column to engage the enemy group. So here it might seem that this is a big difference and it's going to be way slower, but when you get up to speed and when you get the heavy tank column rolling, then it's really just as fast. And for the last figures we have the turret and tank traverse of 22 and 26. And here it is again a quite average number, nothing that really stands out. But do keep in mind guys that as I have that improved rotation mechanism mounted on my tank, then these values are improved more like a generic IS-3. And when taking a look at the armor and health category, then of course for the whole armor and the turret armor, which I will go through in just a few seconds, then do of course quickly notice the comparison between the IS-3A and the IS-3 armor that are the exact same. And the only real noticeable difference here is of course the HP, where the IS-3A just had to get that extra 50 HP. But in general, for a heavy tank at tier 8, 1500 is very much standard. And to quickly finish up, we again have some camo values that are not really worth mentioning. All of them have truly heavy tank camo values. The 350 base view range quite standard. This is also why, as I mentioned in the garage, it doesn't really feel I'm going to get a lot out of those coated optics. So if my playstyle is dependent on getting that boost in view range, then I might as well just go for the binoculars. Okay guys, let's continue by taking a look at the armor profile rundown. Okay guys, so here we have the armor profile of the Soviet IS-3A, and here for this analyze we're going to use the standard 221mm penetrating APCR rounds. And let's take a look how it looks in the live view. There we go. This pike nose is definitely standing out, which is very similar to the Tech 3 IS-3. Because let's just try to compare how does this armor profile look when we compare it against the IS-3, where we're using the exact same APCR rounds against it. So this is the IS-3A and this one is the Tech 3 IS-3. So it can be like kinda tricky to find the difference between those two, besides of course that small angle on the turret ring. But besides that, the values itself regarding the armor efficiency are really not that different. But of course the values here that are going to stand out is the amazing turret armor, and can when held down be a challenge for the enemy tanks to penetrate. The only real exceptions is of course the microscopic small spot here of 250mm, can be of course tricky to hit together with this microscopic small triangle. And yes, of course you have two cupolas, but they can be extremely hard to hit. So usually what you will see where you got IS-3 or IS-3A that is face hogging the other tank, they will all see whether they can shoot this turret plate that only is 20mm thick and therefore will be super easily overmatched. And this is also why it can look strange when you are face hogging an enemy tank. You will very often spot that the enemy is moving the turret not very realistically, but this way here. And yeah, I have a few personal opinions about this gun mechanic, because not only it's not very realistic, and second of all, the gun itself doesn't really follow any laws of physics, as it completely disregards the existence of any objects and can go through enemy tanks, turrets, buildings, you name it. But nevertheless, just below turret of course we have a very tiny turret ring that is providing 160mm of armor. And when you take a look at these values here guys, they are not really standing out. Doesn't really provide anything especially in regard of the armor. Yes, double armor plates here provides 20mm extra armor. Personally, I don't really like pike noses because they can be really tough to aim, because as soon as you try to aim, then it's very clear for the enemy where to aim. But of course, this part can definitely be a viable option if you know that the enemy is angling for your lower plate. But this also can make this very tough for this tank to side scrape. As for example, we can see here, you will have quite a big area that you need to cover. But if you can manage to cover this part and bait your enemy to shoot on your side armor, then check this guys here. You might notice that there's this very microscopic spot. Let's see how that actually looks in the visual view. So the enemy might think this area is not that really super well angled, might fire direct shell into this armor. But what really happens underneath, 30mm of spaced armor, and the crazy part here is when we try to take this angle to the extreme, even at this position guys, then check these values guys, it is completely nuts. And even if we take it to another level, then you can still see the values are not bad at all. And you might of course be thinking, well, it's not really that big thing, because what you of course do is you're going to fire it on the side, because there is absolutely no armor. You can see it here in visual view that you really do not want to shoot at this part here, but you just want to shoot between the tracks. And yes, if you do that, it will just go through like butter. There's absolutely no armor on the side profile. And this kind of mix you very often see on many of the Soviet heavy tanks, where they consist of some unimpenetrable armor at certain spots, and where other areas they can be penned by anything. Point that I want to make here guys is that the IS-3 and the IS-3A is really meant for a super aggressive combat style, in my opinion. Because what you really want in such a tank is tanks that will not bounce every single shell, but can reliably bounce maybe 2, 3, 4 or even more shots every combat due to the RNG. And in the middle of all the chaos that's happening, tanks bumping into each other, artillery shells flying in your face, then yes, it can at times become very tricky to hit that exact weak spot. And this is exactly what the point is of this tank. Just charge into the enemy together with your comrades and rather reliably be able to bounce a few of the shells. But this also of course means that in random games where the gameplay style is very much different, you really need to actively think about how you're going to utilize this particular armor. Because going hull down, that is going to be epic, but the rest of the tank, for generic use, you can definitely not rely, besides maybe bouncing 1, 2, up to 3 shots per game. Quick thing to mention, of course, this tank has 5 degrees of gun depression. Let's take a look how that looks when we utilize this fully. And here we go. And so here we directly see that the armor values are going to go up, but not to the extreme. The only place where we really see some proper figures is at these 2 hatches. So if you're encountering an IS-3A, definitely I can highly recommend shoot the lower plate, but if that is covered, then you will stand best chances at shooting it around these areas. And to finish up for the rear part, these values here are really not surprisingly not that super good. Values that are between 80mm to around 120mm at certain spots. Okay guys, let's continue with taking a look at 2 very recent battles I just had in the IS-3A. Okay guys, so here we are on Pearl River. I'm playing my IS-3A and I'm playing together with Grey Fox. So right off the bat we are same tier, so that is always good. Normally I would like to go towards the H1, but as I'm a heavy tank we only have 5 heavies. Well, strangely enough we're only facing 4 heavies. I'm thinking, yeah, I have no choice to support the team, but of course go to the heavy line. The IS-5, the Bisonte C45, if they go hull down it can definitely become a challenge. But we got quite good support also, so it should be doable. And also will give me a good opportunity to showcase you guys how powerful it is. Well, this gun is in exactly this kind of combat. Well, let's see how it's will turn out. So as you guys see, 3 shells loaded. This is a good time. Well, it takes like around what, 41 seconds plus minus to make a full reload, but until we are at the battlefield, that's plenty of time to have a full magazine. Well, let's see how the gun will behave, because one thing is for certain, it's not the best gun handling. Okay, this gun is beautiful, beautiful. I'm a bit worried that it might be too good angle for our shots. Can we put in another guy? Yeah, another shot, not another. Come on, come on, yes! There we go guys, this exactly pinpoints how powerful it is. So you might be thinking, oh no, now we have fired all the shots. So now we need to do a horrible first shot. First reloading shot, but as you guys saw it was 11 seconds. And it doesn't really going to give us that gigantic advantage in, so if I had the, well, to reload it fully, so of course, if I had the options, yeah I could do it. But I don't feel really that super punished by just shooting it now, as like using it as a single shot tank. So if the opportunity arises, yeah I could wait those 12-13 seconds for the next one. But having that option is just so epic. So should I not? That was a bit got too blood tested there. Because I should actually have waited on that one just for 3-4 seconds. But nevertheless, 1500 damage so far, guys. We just started the game, and we haven't even taken a single hit on us. Don't ask me what the guy was doing. And that's the other irony is that when you can take out the enemy tanks, of course they will not be able to give you that much damage. So in some way it's really as support to your own armor. Okay, so the enemy armor, well, the enemy heavy group is definitely cleared out very quickly here, guys. We have a lot of heavies, but this one is now going to be a bit tricky because the good part is, of course, we have the IS-3A next to the enemy, and we will need that guy because if there's something this tank is really poor at, that's visibility. Yeah, okay, that was good. That one did go in. Nice. Okay, are we getting into some trouble here? Okay, that was a bit lucky, this one. Can we also put another? Good, I think we scared him away. It's getting a bit hectic here. The match is still close at 6-7. Nearly. Being a bit further now, Bisonte will be able to take out the enemy Bisonte. Can you support him maybe? Come on. Yeah. Beautiful. I must say, guys, those two shots, that was seems a bit lucky, if you ask me. That was good. Yeah. Okay, getting some cold water in my face, trying to suppress the knowledge of the RT. Let's continue. It's like some... it was like pointing at what is the most demoralizing things in the game. And like EBRs and RT. Okay, another one is coming. 229. Seems like we need to get slightly away here because else the very skilled RT player is going to take out our tank. Maybe. Seems like kinda we are a fish in a pond right now. Lighting that we can do something, but it's quite close. This one, ooh, nice. Our skilled RT player took him out. Thinking, yeah, we should probably push. You can see my comrade here, the KV4 is also doing it, so that's perfect. Just noticed, yeah, it's just the RT left there. Of course, the unknown part here, of course, they pushed the 4-6. But I start slightly to doubt that he's actually going to, he's at that spot, supporting his artists, but who knows. Well, the artists are definitely, that one is definitely the same spot. And Prosciutto spotted, okay. So artists are definitely by themselves now. It is a bit sluggish when driving uphill. Okay, where did you hide? Slightly pre-aimed at us. Oh, there we got one guy, that's beautiful. And the next. Come on, come on. You can run, but you can't hide. Come on, come on, come on! Yeah, this is the beautiful. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is the beauty. This is why you need to have extra shots, guys. Okay, guys. 1410. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, guys, 3600 damage, 623 spotting, not bad. Okay, guys, so here we are on secret line. We are cleared same tier, and here we are attacking. And right on the bat, of course, the spot I want to go to is the H6 spot. I think that is super powerful. I really enjoy that location. Attacking from the northern flank, it's kind of feels the enemy is able to cover every single spot. Also regarding the E6, they can cover the C6 locations, even the D5 for the D6 location. But the one here, while it's not that easy to, well, let's say it another way, it doesn't really always work out, it is quite strong and super annoying for the enemy. And there's nice potential there, depending of course how the game plays out. Let's see if we can get to that position. Of course my big worry is of course the bad camo value on this heavy tank, because this spot is really made for a more medium-ish tank, not really this one here. But let's see how this one plays out, where we're not really using it as a super heavy tank push tank, but more towards supporting, because that K location, that K6, K7 where Grey Fox is, that is so vital. We can get that spotted in and taken out. See that our heavy tanks in the city there's plenty of them, should be all good. We cannot lose this certain flank here. Nothing is really happening. I can see that everyone is going away from the flank. The problem is, if we are losing the spotter on the K line, then I have no other choice but to leave this location. But okay, look. Did you guys see? Oh my god! This is, yeah. There you go, guys. This was 3 shells well spent. And the thing is, you know, you might be thinking this was bad luck or this was just poor aiming. Poor aiming, I probably would agree on. But this is not really that uncommon, because some games you can just hit everything spot on, and finally, and some games there's absolutely nothing you can hit, and it is very vital for me to showcase, guys, because some of the other games, like the other game we just had, you could directly see that where the Bisonte was, we were able to make some amazing snapshots. And when it works out, it really gives you the feeling of, wow, this tank is overpowered. But there are very often games where you are thinking, this is 100% hit, and you are going to end up simply missing with either the whole clip or maybe at least 2 of them. So keep that in mind, guys. Yeah, I knew like there's no way I would be fully aimed to shoot at that guy, so it was more like, okay, let me just click and pray. Okay, at least it's good we have some view range here, because now we can at least try out the combat here. IS-3A looking at us, and we only have his turret. It's kind of not worth shooting at. I'm not certain I should peek over, because as soon as I get spotted I'll get so many side shots into me. This location here is all about patience, because as you guys see, our heavy tanks are doing the job there in the city, which is good. But right now we're preventing a lot of enemy tanks. A lot of enemy tanks to do actually anything, because look at the last time they were spotted, they had 4 tanks. That this one coming. Wow, okay, that was lucky. Next one. Wow. Got now of course receiving the shots there. That was a good decision or bad. Let you guys to be a judge of that. It looks like we are going to suffer from that decision. I would agree with you guys, it was a better decision. Get to the building as fast as possible. There's so many of them here, guys. But it's 9-4 now. Now it looks like it was good. We definitely need to look into. Ooh, that's nice. It's opportunity to get some damage in. Yeah. It is so deadly, the gun, when it works. It is stunning, guys. Just capable of firing 390 alpha damage shots in just 3 seconds. And the cool part is I don't really need to like actively think about, oh no, now I need to wait until I have some shots there. It really feels like a free bonus when you play with this tank. It's like, hey, I got 3 shots, awesome, I can fire them all off and I don't need to think about, wow, suddenly I'm missing the shots or suddenly my DPM is going down. So right now our HP is 766. I know the other 2 guys have quite good HP. I want at least to have 2 shots. I should preferably have 3 shots, because that would give us a bigger chance regarding if I'm actually going to survive this. Oh, let's see. Oh, this guy's poking. Yeah, I have to do this one. Good. Can I quit? Whoa, lucky. Okay guys, so we definitely have 1 shot now. Let's see what the Panzer is going to do. If he's poking up, I will have to put a shot into him. Whoa! Not bad. 3,100 damage and 537 spotting. Not bad. So, the IS-3A, what do I think of it, and most importantly, is it worth picking up from the premium shop? The IS-3A is definitely unique, and the reverse auto reloading system very often takes me through a roller coaster of emotions, because this love-hate experience is definitely not for the weak-hearted. RNG is definitely a factor for most tanks, some more than others, but this tank takes it at times to a new level, where in some games you just hit with every single shell, but in the next game you can't even hit your targets at point-blank range. In general, the IS-3A definitely feels like a proper upgrade from the Tech 3 IS-3, and the minor sacrifices of that slightly worse gun handling together with the slower speed definitely seems worth the trade for that 3-shot auto reverse reloader gun. So how many facepalms would I give the Soviet Tier 8 IS-3A premium heavy tank? Well, for standard random games it receives a solid 4 facepalms. But the thing is that if I was going to rate the IS-3A for the more competitive skirmish battles and alongside a team that strongly relies on aggressive heavy tank push strategies, then the IS-3A is definitely a 5 out of 5, because in this environment, when you fight enemy tanks up close and personal, then the IS-3A just feels so overpowered. The capability of dishing out a total of 1170 damage in just 6 seconds, it just feels insane. But of course, as the armor profile is nowhere near as reliable as some of its other Soviet brothers for this gameplay mode, then I do see it work perfectly alongside the Object 252U, also known as the Defender, where the objects are right in the front and spearheading the heavy group attack, and just few meters behind them they will be followed by the deadly IS-3A that now will be fully capable to be brought into the center of the battle to unleash that devastating 3 shots onto the enemy forces. For you guys who already have seen some of my tank reviews and already know me very well, then you know that I'm not that big heavy tank player. But if there is something that I do love, then it is auto loaders and shell velocity. And this tank, with its reverse reloading system and that complete insane standard shell velocity of 1400 meters per second, really just feels broken. And the only reason for why it does not receive my personal rating of 5 facepalms is simply because of both the lack of reliability in regards of both the armor and the gun. But when it works, then wow, this tank is good. Okay guys, let's finish up. I hope that this tank review was helpful towards your decision on whether you should pick up the IS-3A premium tank next time you have the chance. And thanks a lot for watching guys, this was my tank review number 41. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think of the IS-3A heavy tank in the comments below. Did you pick one up, and what is your opinion of this tank? And as always, if you'd like to see more crazy content from my side, feel free to leave a like or even subscribe. It's a big thumbs up for me and I appreciate it a lot. Cheers guys, take care and see you next time.